Oh, it seems very Pero arregota, es que se lleva con mis amigos y no puse
Oh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are we doing today? Do what? Say hello to you? Because I think it's the polite thing to do. I just am an exceptionally loud person.
Wow, he is so.
And hopefully it gets your attention and makes you realize, oh, maybe I should get ready for class, put away my phone and my headphones, and take out my computer. That's kind of the reason I do it. Thank you for asking, though. No, I woke up on top of it. I thought that was the right side.
Well,
No, actually, it's the wrong side. Sorry.
Is it?
Yeah.
What side am I supposed to be on?
Not that side.
the left.
I was.
You have to be under the bed.
Yeah.
Well, make up your mind. You guys are giving me different directions and things.
No,
All right,
be on the left
slide
side.
45, ladies and gentlemen. Get to it, so that we can finish talking about eights and ites and per and hypos and per. It's one of the prefixes. And then we can get into covalent compounds today. Yes.
I don't know. I didn't even look at it.
It's time.
Oh.
Oh, is it Delta Math now?
Yes.
Holy cow, they updated it. You know, last time I looked at Delta Math, it was 7th grade, so I have.
Why is it training?
I don't know. I'm done with that. I don't even know if I'm going to do that, so.
That's homework. I was just gonna mark it.
Oh no. Another homework.
Oh, no! I do all of my homework.
Don't do all of my homework.
I do all of mine.
All right.
I'm like, I still
No, I just have to. I love that you can read my lips.
I got like half
I
of that.
love that you can read my lips because no one can read my lips.
I got like half of that. The first half
You're
I
literally like this because you can.
Yeah, the first half I missed.
You and Lucy are the only people that can read lips. I heard you say. Apparently, I don't know. People act like it's the hardest thing ever. And I literally enunciate my lips too. You know?
Like we both slow it.
Yeah.
I still only got half of it because I stopped paying attention. I looked away and then looked back and I got like the last half of that sentence.
Early release this week, y'all. Early release.
This week? What is it?
Yeah.
Oh, the night. You're right.
I know.
I love the
Oh, it's great.
I love the Okay.
Our last day of school is June 7th.
June 7th. We don't make up the snow day?
We don't have to do that
No, we don't.
because we have 2 snow days that are put into the calendar. And we use what? Because we had a calendar.
2 hours.
Then we will have another
Yeah.
one. I knew these were wrong. I knew I was trying to.
So you put them down even though you knew they were wrong? Yeah.
Reduce.
Oh,
We're here for reduce. Oh, where they get out of each other. What? Where they cancel each other out. That's what.
Oh, because it's a negative to the person.
Yeah. I had to think about that for a minute too.
That was the one. I don't know. So I don't know.
Why did you get that right? Oh, this is a different. Oh! Wait.
What?
We have different questions.
Do we all have different
No, they're just in a different order.
That makes more sense. So I was like, wait, how did you get that? I didn't. Like, this was
Wait, no.
iodine, not iodine. Yeah.
I literally put iodine, and then I crossed it out because I was like, wait.
I didn't think about that.
For the life of me, I could not figure out what the end was because like we've been doing so many different endings.
Yeah. No, I sat there and I was like,
I was sitting there and I was like, what is it?
I was gonna write it and then I was like,
Shoot, I was like, because I wrote the one that we've been doing, but then
All
I
right.
was like, it's different.
If at the top of your quiz you have IDA, ladies and gentlemen, if you have IDA on the top of your quiz, ladies and gentlemen, these are your answers for it.
Wait, what is that? I know what
Hey!
Sure,
So, try to load it.
Yeah, but you have a different account.
I'll set up 3 emails.
So these are the answers if you had IDA. If you had IDB, they are in a different order. I will show those to you in a second. All of them needed to end in IDE. There were none, ladies and gentlemen, that had Roman numerals in them. Questions? Those were the two that were at the bottom of the page, ladies and gentlemen. Tin 2 oxide and calcium nitride. If you had IDB, here's your order. Same questions, ladies and gentlemen, just in a different order. Beryllium sulfide, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, is a +2 and a -2, so that is the reduced form. Same with tin oxide. It was a +2 and a -2, so that is the reduced form of that compound. Questions?
No. The formulas, ladies and gentlemen, are normally where people have a little bit more difficulty. So these were your formulas. Gallium is a +3, chlorine is a -1, so GaCl3. Beryllium is a +2, sulfur is a -2, so BeS. Chromium VII is 7, so it has a +7. Oxygen has a -2, so Cr2O7. Nickel 1 with silicide. Nickel has a +1. Silicon has a -4. So Ni4Si. Here, lithium charge in a compound will be a +1. Silicons will be a -4. Argon will have 0 charge, and germanium will have a +4 charge. Down at the bottom, what is the charge of every binary ionic compound? They are all 0. What type of elements are involved in a binary ionic compound, a metal and a nonmetal? And why do atoms combine to become stable? So if you had version B, there are your formulas. Same formulas as before. Same charges as the other version in here. Different order for these. Metal and nonmetal, 0, and then atoms combine to become stable. Questions that you may have? On Friday, ladies and gentlemen, you will have your unit test. You will have plenty of time to do it, even with the shortened hour because of the shortened day. So there will be no problem with us getting it done on that day. But I will tell you this, ladies and gentlemen, we still have to go through covalent compounds, which we will get through today, and then acids, both ionic and ternary acids. So there is still some stuff yet to do. We will get it done by Wednesday, and then you will have your test on Friday. Questions?
No.
I will tell you this, your test is mostly writing formulas or compounds for names. Of the 70 points on it, 60 of them come from either writing a formula or writing a name. So, all right. So, we asked you to go to this slide in your notes, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? We asked you to go to this slide in your notes. So let's take a look at this real quick here, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? All right. Now, first of all, there are lots of different ways that sound like you are saying the same thing. Okay? So we have to be careful, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? So let's begin with this. Nitrate. Nitrate is the ATE ending, which means the formula is NO3 and it is a -1. Okay? Now, if we add an oxygen and go to NO4, it is still a -1, but now it becomes per nitrate. Okay? It becomes per nitrate. Okay? Now, nitrate could also lose an oxygen and become NO2. Now it is nitrite. Okay? And then you could lose 2 oxygens and become hyponitrite. I'm sorry, I can't fit it on that line. If you could type it in there, that'll work. But hypo always goes with an ITE ending. Always. Never fails. Okay? Now, that covers the ATE and the ITE ending. That covers the per and the hypo. However, ladies and gentlemen, if there's no oxygens, it is nitrogen and it has a -3 charge. And then in a compound, it would be nitride, IDE. These are all ternary. This is binary. Well, I'm sorry, it could be binary or it could be ternary. Because with ammonium and H4, it could still be a ternary. If it's with just a metal, this is going to be a binary. It depends on if you want to see what things are like on the test. It's up to you. You can throw it away. You can do whatever you want with it. It's your quiz. Okay? So, be careful. ATE ending, ITE ending. One letter makes a big difference. ITE, IDE. Again, one letter makes a big difference. Okay? And it is very different in the formula for that compound based on, or that anion, I should say, based on what the name is. Questions? So nitrate is a common one. So is sulfate. Sulfate is SO4. -2 charge. If you gain an oxygen, you become SO5. Still a -2 charge. But now it is per sulfate. Again, everything gets based off of this column here. These other 3 columns get based off of what the initial polyatomic is. And that is the one that is the AT ending on the back of your periodic table. Okay? That is the one that is the polyatomic ion that is in the AT ending on the back of your periodic table. Now you could also have You could also have SO3. Still a 2-, and it would be sulfite. You could have SO2, -2 charge, and that would be hyposulfite. And then you can just have sulfur, which is a -2 charge, which would be sulfide. Okay? Chlorate is a -1 polyatomic. ClO3. You can have ClO4, still a -1, and it is perchlorate. We are not changing the AT ending when we have +1 oxygen. It is per at the beginning, and it is ATE at the end. The normal is just an ATE. -1 is an ITE. -2 is hypo and ITE.
Mr. What does it say? C10 or?
This
ClO.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, I was like,
ClO3.
Is it minor case L enough?
It is a capital C, lowercase l, capital O. Because it's chlorine and oxygen together. Okay?
I hate doing these so much. And I hate crushing them.
ClO2 is a -1. Chlorite.
I can't click on it.
ClO is a -1. There is no 1 written here because we're down to just 1 oxygen. And that is hypochlorite. And then there is just chlorine, which is a -1, which is chloride.
Is that 0.1 or -1 at that no oxygen?
It's a -1. The charge is always a -1 for chlorine. Okay? Now, you will not lose 2 oxygens if it only has 2 oxygens to begin with. The only polyatomic that we have that has that, ladies and gentlemen, is acetate. Acetate only has 2 oxygens in it. So it can lose 1 and become acetite, ITE ending. It cannot lose 2. It will not do that. Okay? It will not do that. So there is no hypoacetite. Okay? Questions? Any other polyatomic on the back that has oxygen in it can do this, though. So chromate, phosphate, monohydrogen phosphate,
manganate. Any of those, ladies and gentlemen, could go through this same naming procedure. Gain 1 oxygen, you put a per at the beginning. Lose 1 oxygen, you put an IT at the ending. Lose 2 oxygens, you put a hypo and an ITE ending on it. Okay? So again, any one of these polyatomics that has oxygen in it that ends in an ATE can do these. Obviously, cyanide, ferrocyanide, ferric cyanide cannot do this because they are not polyatomic, or they are polyatomics that do not involve oxygen. Questions? Please remember, if you are going to put a subscript by any of these, you need to put them in parentheses. Whether there is a number at the end or not, you have to put them in parentheses. These you would never have to. Why? Because there's only one element there. You never have to put those in parentheses. These you do. Okay? So, write a compound for calcium hyponitrite. Write a formula for it, ladies and gentlemen. There's scratch paper on the back table over there. There's scratch table up here if you need a piece, ladies and gentlemen.
Scratch table. Scratch table.
I said scratch paper on the table back there. Sorry.
Scratch table up here.
Okay. On top of the highlighters, there's some scratch paper.
Y'all need a scratch table. Yeah, I see the You couldn't have gotten multiple pieces?
What are those?
What are we doing?
You're writing a formula for calcium hyponitrite. So write these 3 formulas, ladies and gentlemen. Calcium hyponitrite, aluminum perchromate, and ammonium phosphide. What? Write the formula. Sure, for about 15 minutes because I had meetings today. Every Monday, teachers have meetings. Every teacher has meetings every Monday. Well, better figure it out because your testing here is on Friday. Yes. Okay, good question. When there is a 1, so we reduced some of those so that it was like CO1. You do not write the 1 by the CO. We never write 1. But if you're going to put a number by it to balance off the charges, yes, you have to put it into parentheses, please. Cynthia, put away your phone.
Wait, is this right?
Well, we're going to find out in a minute. What's the matter?
Well, I'm gonna check right now.
You're not even done.
I am done. on. I'm moving on to the next one.
Good. Finish them all before I check it.
Oh, this is next. There's post prom.
I thought it was minus.
Where's that? To go bowling after prom.
Bowling?
Who chose that?
Who chose that?
No.
Huh?
For chromate.
Chromate.
First plus one.
This counts as a family. Students don't need to attend prom to go to post prom.
That makes sense. That's like the whole
Well,
point.
how are you gonna go bowling in a dress?
Right. You're looking to it.
It's a total loss of like reading like pictures in your dress. I can imagine like a tight ass dress and big ass
You're sitting there bowling.
It should be like a spa photo. Everyone bring extra clothes and stuff. Make sure that clothes doesn't smell like you know what.
It's not just like go home and change.
Huh? No.
Why?
Because it says 11 p.m. to 1 p.m.
It's like right after.
That's their charge for calling.
There's a charge for all polyatomics. It would be the same. It would be on the back of your periodic table. You would find it about a third of the way down, almost halfway.
Okay. I thought you guys were somewhere that first. Yes. Why do you think every
Oh yeah, no, I have to go with that.
I don't know how to do it.
You look like green. He did look exactly. I swear to God.
Actually, me and
I think
Levi's
you're just on
eyes are the
something.
exact same.
Huh?
Funny enough, me and Levi's eyes are the exact same.
Yeah, you guys look alike too. That's why they guys were similar.
We do not look alike.
Well, Aaron told me
Well, you
that.
don't seem like you're dating, right?
You know Aaron.
Yeah, I do know Aaron.
Yeah. They kind of look alike. Kind of.
Okay,
I think you just.
It's just.
Leaf.
For it.
Hey, my turn for a while. Leaf, calcium, charge. Calcium? Which one? Make up my mind. Okay. Now, how do we get hyponitrite? What do we get it from, Nadia? What do we get hyponitrite from? What polyatomic? Okay. And what does hyponitrite mean?
Loses one oxygen. Two.
Which one?
What do you mean, which one?
Well, you told me loses one oxygen, then you told me loses two. Which one is it?
Two.
Okay. Hypo means you have lost a second oxygen. The IT ending means you have lost the first. Well, what does the normal nitrate look like, Nadia?
NO3 minus 1.
So what would hyponitrite look like?
NO2 minus 1.
Really? So that's when it's lost two oxygen. It goes from NO3 to
So it would
NO2.
be just NO minus 1.
Okay. So now, ladies and gentlemen, now that we have the right formula written here, we need to balance off this compound. The total charge on the compound is always what, Levi? Zero. Total charge on every compound is always zero. Cynthia, what's the total charge on every compound?
0.
Good. Nadia, what's the total charge on every compound?
0. I'm just kidding.
She's JK.
Yeah, JK. Just playing.
So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, this -1 is going to go down by the Ca. This +2 ends up by the NO. We do not write positives and negatives, and we never write the number 1. So what would our final formula look like here? What would it look like here, Dara? Like that? Like that? Like that?
It might be like that.
Like that?
Like that. Would you just choose one?
There's one problem. You're putting a number by a group. That group therefore needs to go in parentheses. That's the only thing that's wrong there. You put the group in parentheses, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? Hey, Diary of the Mouth Twosome over there. Cynthia, Nadia, knock it off, or we can separate you. Want to bet?
No, I
I can make it so you're not even in the same room.
It wouldn't work. They literally they would just
Don't,
they're like
Brindley, this is an AB conversation. See your way out of it.
You can't break the forces of
I'm
attraction.
trying to help.
You're not. Okay? All right. Aluminum perchromate. Aluminum, the charge on it, Rocio. Symbol and charge, please.
KL +3.
All right. Perchromate comes from what polyatomic, Jacqueline? What polyatomic is perchromate close to?
Whatever.
Turn your periodic table over. Look on the back for the polyatomics. So what's it close to? Okay, what is the charge and the symbol for chromate? Or the formula for chromate, I should say, because it's more than one symbol. CrO4. And it is a -2. Now to be perchromate, what has happened to it, Jin? To be perchromate, what happened to the chromate? What does the per prefix mean? Okay, so instead of CrO4, it becomes CrO5, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I can do this here because this is just my work anyway. This is not my final compound. So we're going to take now and balance off our charges. This 2 ends up going down by the aluminum. This 3 ends up coming down by the CrO5. Najma, what would be our formula? There you go, ladies and gentlemen. There is your compound. Questions? All right. Brindley, ammonium.
NH, and then the little 4, and then the +1 up top.
Okay. Phosphide. What gives us phosphide, Yvonne? Okay, what's the charge on phosphorus? -3. So again, we do the crisscross method to get the total charges to balance off. What does our formula end up looking like here? What does our formula end up looking like here, Cynthia? Like that?
Oh, wait. And then parentheses 4.
Around what?
Around the P. No, in there. No, because it's right
Like that.
Oh, switch the numbers and then put the 3 up top.
Okay, you gotta give me a clue here, because I have no idea when you say switch the numbers what you mean.
Well, first of all, Cynthia, we always told you one rule, which is never, never, ever, never, ever do what to a polyatomic?
I don't know actually.
So you were going to answer Cynthia's question, and then you answer it wrong, and then you're like, ah, never mind.
I never said never mind. I said I don't know.
What do we never, ever, never, ever, never, ever change, ladies and gentlemen? No.
Number of elements.
She has the answer right now.
What is wrong with that answer?
You switch the 4. The 4 is inside the parentheses. It's NH is in parentheses. So parentheses NH4 and then 3.
I consider about racing music right over here.
So what do you want, Cynthia?
So parentheses NH4 and then close it and then 3P or P3.
Yeah.
Either or, I don't know.
No, it's you have it right the first time. Maybe.
Well, again, ladies and gentlemen, one of the basic rules that we tried to teach you, that we told you we went over with you, but apparently we haven't learned, is that you never, ever, ever, never, ever change the group. The group is NH4. I need to put a number by the NH4 to balance it off with the phosphorus. So I'm going to put the NH4 in parentheses, but I'm not going to change it to an NH3. I'm not going to take this 4 and switch it over here. This 4 has nothing to do with the crisscross method. The only two numbers involved in the crisscross method are the 3 and the 1. We never write ones. We never write positive or negative charges. So this 3 comes down here by the NH4. For me to do that, I have to put it in parentheses, just like I did here, just like I did here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm putting a number by a group. We put the group in parentheses, whether it has numbers in it or not. This is the group, NO. When I want to put a number by it, it has to go in parentheses. This is our group, CrO5. Has to have parentheses, put the number by it. Same thing here. NH4 is our group, put it in parentheses. We put the 3 by it, ladies and gentlemen, because it balances off the charges. Nothing goes by the phosphorus because the number that we would put there would be a positive 1. We don't write positives and we never write ones. Questions? My suggestion is you get some practice time in between the next 3 days, 4 days, before you take your test on Friday. Because if you don't, you're going to blow all of these. Yes. Go ahead. Questions? Yes. I'm sorry, what? What?
Those papers.
What are we talking about?
Right there, like the purple one.
That's what's got your attention right now? Those that have been there since the start of the year?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I do have some notes there, yes. Sorry.
What's their purpose?
They each have something on the other side so that I can put it on my door if I need to. Okay? Now, has nothing to do with what we're trying to learn right now, but that's what their purpose is. Okay? All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Time to move on. So, now we are going to talk about binary covalent compounds. Now, binary still means what? 2. Covalent means what? Sharing electrons. Covalent means 2 different nonmetals are bonded together by sharing electrons. Can only be 2 of them. They have to be 2 nonmetals together. These are not polyatomic ions. Polyatomic ions have a charge. These are compounds. These are compounds and they do not have a charge. They involve only nonmetals. There are no charges to them. So you do not need to do a crisscross method here. Why? You could never get 2 negative charges to cancel off and be 0 anyway. Their formulas do not have to be reduced.
It is a whole different naming system.
You see that?
I
You
did.
see that abuse? That was mean. It hurt.
Yeah, you should go sit in another seat to get away from him.
Why should he sit in another seat? I'm listening. I'm paying attention. It's hurting me.
I'm paying attention too. I answered his last question.
It's okay. I got time. We can screw around like this all day. I'll make it so that you just have to look over the notes and know the naming process for Friday. Okay? It's named using prefixes in the element's name. So this is a system where you're going to use prefixes. Prefixes are mono, di, tri, tetra. Prefixes are penta. Okay? So, first of all, ionic or covalent? Nadia, ionic or covalent?
I don't know.
Well, what's a covalent compound? Really? What did we just tell you? Read what a covalent compound is.
I'm reading, but I don't get
The
it.
very first sentence.
I don't know what I can't tell, but like if I just look at a formula, I'm not gonna know if it's two non-metals.
Okay. Well, look at this first formula. How many elements are there?
Two.
Really?
Three.
Which is it? 2 or 3?
Three.
3. What was our definition of a covalent compound?
Two non-metals.
Ionic or covalent?
Ionic?
2.
Yeah, I said ionic.
Okay. So why is this ionic?
There's not two non-metals.
That's a nonmetal. That's a nonmetal.
But there's three things.
Okay, good. So first of all, this can't be covalent because there's 3 different elements here, correct? Okay. What is the first element here, Nadia? A metal. So can you have a metal in a covalent compound?
No.
No, we just said a covalent compound was 2 nonmetals. So this is
Ionic.
ionic. Good. Cynthia.
Ionic. No,
What?
covalent. It's covalent.
Why?
There's two metals.
What? There's 2 metals.
There's two non-metals.
Which one? No. Well, you've given me 2 answers here. I'd like to know which one you're actually going with now. Are there 2 metals here or 2 nonmetals here?
Two non-metals.
2 nonmetals. That makes it a covalent compound. All right? Good. Brindley. Why is it-
Because I'm looking at the definition.
Why is it ionic, Brindley?
I'm just kind of like, because like I know it's not covalent because it has, I don't know.
Well, tell me how you know it's not covalent. What?
Involves metals.
Okay, perfect. That is the whole difference between ionic and covalent. An ionic compound involves a metal, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, where are metals always written in your formula? First. They're the first thing. So first of all, to know if it's covalent, ask yourself 2 questions. Number 1, are there only 2 elements there? BaCl2. Daniela, how many elements are in BaCl2? 2. So that means it could be ionic or it could be covalent because both of them can have 2 elements. Now ask yourself the next question. The element that it begins with, Ba, is that a metal or a nonmetal? What? So what does that make it? That makes it ionic, ladies and gentlemen. If it begins with a metal and there are only 2 elements, it has to be ionic. It's a binary ionic. If there are 3 elements, we know that it for sure is going to be what? Ionic. Now, we have not given you any naming system where you can name 3 nonmetals in a compound. There are naming systems out there for it, but we have not and will not give you one. So for it to be a covalent compound, there only have to be 2 elements and they both have to be nonmetals. C2H6, Christian, ionic or covalent? Why? Perfect, 2 nonmetals. SF6, ionic or covalent, Isha? SF6, Ionic or covalent? There's S. There's F.
I cannot see. Sorry. Covalent.
Covalent. Two nonmetals. PBC. PBC, Yvonne.
Ionic.
That is ionic. Why? Lead is a metal. Lead is a metal. Brenda. AgCl. Why? Slow down. We'll never have two metals. Never have two metals. What is it again? I'm sorry. Okay, since there is a metal involved, it has to be ionic. Okay? Since there is a metal involved, it has to be ionic. We'll never have two metals together, though. Okay? There could be three elements, and two of them could be metals, but we will never have two metals together just. Okay? So this is ionic. COO, Najma. That is ionic. CO is cobalt. Cobalt is a metal. Metal and a nonmetal means it's ionic. Miro, CO2.
Covalent.
That is a covalent compound. CCl4, Nadia.
What?
CCl4.
Covalent.
Why?
There's two non-metals.
Two nonmetals. Very good. Levi, N2O4. Why? Two nonmetals. Okay? So, first of all, it cannot be covalent if there are three elements involved. We won't give you any naming that way. There are ones out there, we will give you none. If there are three elements involved, it has to be ionic. If there is a metal at the start of it, and there are only two elements, it has to be ionic. That is what an ionic compound is. Two elements, a metal and a nonmetal combined. Covalent is two elements, but they are both nonmetals. That is the only way that you can have a covalent compound. Questions? Now again, you can put any notes that you want on your periodic table. It might not be a bad idea to write down how to distinguish if something is ionic or covalent. Your choice. Okay? There are covalent prefixes that you will need to use. Here they are. Mono means one. Di means two. Tri means three. Tetra means four. Penta means five. Hexa means six. Hepta means seven. Octa means 8. Nona means 9. And deca means 10. I would put those on your periodic table or on your solubility chart somewhere. I would always give them to you, but when you're doing things outside of or homework or practicing problems, you're going to want those, ladies and gentlemen. So I would write those on your periodic table for yourselves. There are 4 worksheets that are assigned in Google Classroom for you, ladies and gentlemen. One is on binary ionic compounds, one is on ternary ionic compounds, one is on ternary prefix and suffix compounds, and one is on covalent compounds. Now, you don't want to do them? Don't. But again, on the test on Friday, you are going to be asked to write formulas for all of those things. And without any practice, maybe you'll do well, maybe you won't. I don't know. Okay? But that's what the test is going to be like. What you saw on your quiz is what the test is going to be like, except it's going to include ternary with suffixes and prefixes, covalent, and acids, ladies and gentlemen. So, again, your choice. Okay? Any questions on our prefixes?
No.
Okay. Now, here's the good news about the covalent naming system. The covalent naming system is much easier than the ionic system. You do not have to worry about any charges. You do not have to worry about any crisscross method. You do not have to worry about any of that. You are literally told exactly what to write. The problem is recognizing that you are in the covalent system and not in an ionic system. And we do that by looking at the first element of the two elements that are there. And if it is a nonmetal, you have to be in the covalent system. Two elements, both nonmetals, put you in the covalent system. The covalent system is much easier, though, ladies and gentlemen. Much easier than the ionic system. There is a lot more work that goes into the ionic system than does the covalent system. Okay? So if you are going to write a formula, you write the symbol of the first element, and you add a number after the symbol based on if there is a prefix for it. You write the symbol for the second element. You add a subscript after the symbol based on the prefixes. That's the entire naming system. It literally says, die this, try this. 2 of these, 3 of these. The name tells you exactly how many there are. There are no charges. We still never write ones. Okay? And we do not have to reduce subscripts. You can have a 2 and a 4. You can have a 3 and a 6. You can have a 2 and a 6. You do not reduce these. These do not get reduced. Okay? There are no charges. So you don't have to do a crisscross method. So sulfur dioxide. How many sulfurs? 1. By the way, the one prefix we never begin a name with is mono. We never begin a name with mono. And the reason is quite simple. There are many compounds that only have one of the element at the beginning. And if we were to alphabetize them, mono would be a huge part of the alphabetizing. So we don't write mono if there's only one of the first element. It is simply sulfur. It is simply phosphorus. It is simply nitrogen. Now, if there were 2 sulfurs, yes, we would put a prefix, di, tri, tetra. You will never begin a name with a prefix if there is only one of the first element. Every name will always have at least one prefix in it because the second element, no matter how many of them they are, you will have a prefix. So mono can be in front of the second element, it just cannot be in front of the first. So, how many sulfurs? What's the symbol for sulfur? S. What is dioxide? How many? So your formula is SO2. There's your entire formula. Sulfur dioxide. 1 sulfur, di2 oxygens, oxide. That is your whole naming system there. Carbon tetrachloride. Carbon tetrachloride. How many carbons? 1. What's the symbol for carbon? C. Do we write ones? No. What does tetra mean? 4. 4 what? Okay, which is what? Chlorine. So, C1Cl4, CCl4. Naming system is much easier. The naming system is much easier. Okay? No prefix means there is only one of the first element if the name does not begin with a prefix. 1 carbon, 4 chlorines, CCl4. Questions?
So you basically just write it as it is.
You basically just write it as it is. But please remember that in the name, it is a prefix. This tetra goes with the chloride. So therefore, in the formula, it has to go after. So even though it's a prefix here, the number goes after the symbol. Question? Dinitrogen pentasulfide. What does di mean? 2 what? 2 nitrogens. Penta means what? 5 what? 5 sulfur. N2S5. Dinitrogen pentasulfide. When you see those prefixes in a name, it means you don't have to worry about the charges. It means you don't have to do the crisscross method. It means you write what the formula tells you. Dinitrogen, N2, pentasulfide, S5. Question? Now you'll notice, what do these end in? I. They are still binary compounds. All binary compounds end in IDE. All of them. Questions? Trisilicon heptaphosphide. Write a formula for it. Symbol for silicon. Nope, don't guess. SI. How many of them?
3.
So Si3. Hepta means how many?
7.
7. 7 what?
P.
So what's our formula?
Si3P7.
Si3P7. Questions, ladies and gentlemen?
No.
Now you got to be careful, Leaf, because people do that. They go, silicon should start with an S. Well, that's sulfur. So again, a lot of mistakes are made by simply not looking up what your element is. Please remember, in a covalent compound, they are between 2 what? 2 nonmetals. We're working with this little corner right here. That's it. And sometimes hydrogen. Okay? What? I still didn't hear you.
I just said only occasionally.
Only occasionally. All right, so now we got a formula, NO2. Nitrogen and oxygen becomes nitrogen and oxide. For the 2 by the oxygen, we put a di in front of the oxide, nitrogen dioxide.
What's that?
Nitrite. Nitrate. Hyponitrate. Wait.
Wow, we never put hypo and ATE together. Congratulations. But you are on the right track. You may be the only one.
Hyponitrite.
What? Ending? I can't hear your last three.
Nitrite.
No, that is not nitride. This is nitride.
That's nitrate.
What is this?
Nitrate.
What?
Nitrate. Nitrate.
Nitrite.
What's your ending?
IT.
This.
Oh my lord. That's what I said.
Okay, but I kept asking you so that I could hear the ending because I wasn't sure what you were saying.
I said nitrite.
You also said hyponitrate, pernitrite, and a few other things that were wrong. Okay, the difference. This is a compound on its own, no charge. This is a polyatomic. Why? Because it has a charge. Okay? So this is a polyatomic because it has a charge. This is an ion because it has a charge. This is a compound, no charge to it. Questions?
No.
Good, wonderful. Go ahead.
So what was the question?
The question was, what was this? Because these two look almost exactly the same, don't they?
Yeah.
The difference is this has a charge to it.
That one doesn't.
So this is a polyatomic ion. This is the compound nitrogen dioxide. Okay? Not with anything else, just the lone covalent compound. All right, C3H8.
No.
So how do we say 3 carbons?
Tricarbon.
Tricarbon. Okay, how do we say 8 hydrogens?
Octahydride. Oh my god, really?
Yeah, that's it. That's perfect. Tricarbon octahydride.
You just typed it.
By the way, this also has a more common name. Anybody know what it is? Because you probably all have it at home.
What?
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, I have it right next to me, my bad.
No, but I bet you have it out back on the deck behind your house.
Grass.
That is propane.
Oh, I actually did.
I knew that.
That's cute.
This is propane.
You got me.
Okay?
I actually
So,
did.
again, the chemical name, tricarbon octahydride. The common name, propane gas. All right, name it.
Oh,
I don't know.
no sale, mira.
I thought you said those ones could be
Propane.
combined.
No.
What's the name of this compound?
Xenon.
Bless you.
Xenon hexafluoride.
Xenon hexafluoride. Now, what's your problem, Levi?
I thought those the noble gases could be combined.
They can't. But for every rule,
Man.
there's an exception. And there's no exception to that
So
rule.
then they can combine.
So for this whole
Why don't we
rule,
just say that they can only combine in certain scenarios?
Right? Because they're very few, very rare. I would never give you one, but I wanted to show you one because in case somewhere down the line somebody gives you a formula, you're like, oh, my chemistry teacher said that the noble gases could never combine. They never do, but they do occasionally.
So does it never do or does it do?
Again, there is an exception to every rule.
But you just said
So
it never
our
does, but it
rule-
always does too.
No.
But you said it never does, but sometimes
But
it does.
occasionally it can
Sometimes it
happen.
never and also.
Well, because technically it never should happen, but I guess the exception is it does once in a while.
Okay, buddy. Okay, buddy.
B2I5. That's good. That means you don't like it any less.
Yeah, that.
Diboron, pentaiodide. Still ending in IDE.
No.
How many borons? 2. How many iodines? 5. By the way, here's a case of where boron, normally it's a -5, but here it is sharing electrons with another atom. It can make a compound. Okay, good, because then we'll do acids tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. Questions? Again, these are there to help you. They cannot do it if you never open them up and never try it. Yes. I'm sorry, one more time, a little bit louder. If it has charges, it is not a covalent compound. That is correct. Covalent compounds are two nonmetals sharing their electrons. There are no charges between them. A polyatomic ion is on the back of your periodic table. A lot of times it is two nonmetals covalently bonded acting as an ion. Acting as an ion, not acting as an ion in a covalent compound. Questions?
No.
Tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, the first of 2 days of acids. The first day we will do binary.
I'm ready.
What does binary mean? Two different elements involved in an acid.
4.
Second day we will do ternary.
More than 2.
More than 2. And by the way, every acid all begins with the same element.
Why are we doing acids
Hydrogen.
That was a joke.
Hydrogen.
tomorrow? Acids tomorrow.
That is hydrogen acting like a metal.
Yeah.
Make sure you say it that way because it sounds a lot worse if you say, Mom, we're doing acid tomorrow.
Yeah, we're doing acids tomorrow.
Hey, Mom. Guess what we're doing in
I think you messed up on the word.
We're doing 2 acids. We're doing 2 acids tomorrow, and we're doing
Which one?
3 acids.
I love
Why?
acid.
Because you put
I'm gonna text my mom.
I'm gonna be like, Mom, I gotta try some. I'm addicted to acid. Because of Mr. Brand got me hopped up on the acid. And now
Which one?
Mr. Brand, Mr. Brand,
It's-
you come here.
it's at the bottom
So good.
page.
Mr. Brand.
It's
I mean,
the
what's the
fourth
name?
one. It's antimony with
Yes.
oxygen.
Sorry.
Can you run here?
No.
Today.
What does it mean?
What does what mean?
It's on site.
No, but I look cute today. You always look cute. Whoa. Wow, for real. No, that's a lie. Really, just take a compliment.
Right.
I can't! Why not? I can't!
I have no idea.
Sorry, she's just be like,
You
so much.
what if she emailed the wrong person?
I think she emailed the wrong person.
And
Because
you
it
leave me
sounds
alone.
like she's asking a monitor if they punched her out.
Oopsie, sorry.
I'll grab it.
Sorry.
So that obviously wasn't supposed to go to you, Cynthia.
Sorry, I don't mean that.
Because unless you are suddenly getting paid to be here, which there's no way in heck we would do that with you,
I wish.
come take a picture of it, Jim, before you
Yeah,
leave.
you should change my like bank. I can't do my card number in my side.
What's your problem?
Yeah, actually, yeah, y'all can't do this. I changed my credit card.
I'm calling it. I can't.
I got very last night, so you know my last name.
Right.
You're welcome, sir. Just leave it there. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.